Love builds a life on trust, but one secret can unravel it all. Picture a man giving everything for his family, only to find his wife's been living a double life. This is Robert's heart-wrenching journey. My name is Robert, 47, a long-haul truck driver from Nashville, Tennessee. My wife, Renee, and I have been married for 15 years. We've got two kids, Ellie, 10, and Max, 8. They're my everything. The reason I grind through 14-hour drives across state lines, hauling freight to keep our family going, I'm no saint. My job keeps me away more than I'd like, but I've always tried to be a solid dad and husband. Renee's been a stay-at-home mom since Ellie was born. She's got the soft laugh that used to feel like home. No matter where I was, every night, I'd call from the road, sprawled out in some cheap motel, telling her about the stars over Nebraska or the greasy burger I ate at a diner. She'd share stories about the kids, Max's dinosaur obsession, Ellie's latest drawing. I'd pick up trinkets from truck stops, a keychain for Ellie, a plastic stegosaurus for Max, small gestures to bridge the distance. But lately, Renee's been different, cold, almost. Her texts are short, her voice on calls distracted. I'd ask about her day, and she'd mumble, same old, just busy, then pivot to the kids. I blamed my schedule, weeks away, a few days home, then back out. It's tough on a marriage, right? Still, we had a dream keeping me going. A farm outside Nashville. Renee loved the idea, fields, a vegetable patch, maybe goats. We'd plan it out, down to the rocking chairs on the porch. I poured every overtime penny into savings for that future. Then, last month, my world cracked. I was at a rest stop in Illinois when my phone buzzed. My buddy Jake, another driver, texted, "Robert, you good?" Attached was a photo that hit like a freight train. Renee, in some bar I didn't know, smiling with a guy I'd never seen. She was holding a toddler, and he was kissing her cheek. My Renee, my wife. I stared at that photo until my eyes burned. Coffee untouched. Maybe it's a friend, I thought, or a relative, but their closeness, it wasn't casual, it was tender. That night, I called Renee, my voice shaky. "You out tonight, babe?" I asked, playing it cool. "Just home with the kids," she said, cheerful as ever. I hung up, nausea rising. I couldn't shake it. The next day, I hired a private investigator. Felt like I was losing my mind, but I needed answers. A week later, the PI's report gutted me. Renee had a secret life in Kentucky, 2 hours away, a boyfriend, Derek, a 3-year-old daughter, Lily. For years, she'd taken girls' trips with friends I'd never met. The PI showed me texts, hundreds. In one, she laughed about me being clueless, mocked my trust, my overtime money, our farm savings, was funding her other family. Sitting in my truck, reading that report, I felt the air leave my lungs. 15 years of marriage, of late-night calls, of believing we were a team. It was a lie. I thought of Ellie and Max, tucked in bed, trusting their mom. Every mile I'd driven, every sacrifice for our future, felt stolen. How do you even process that? My wife, the woman I loved, had built a whole other life behind my back. I wanted to scream, to break something, but my kids needed me to hold it together. I knew I had to face her, but first, I had to figure out how to protect Ellie and Max from the fallout. I drove home from that rest stop in Illinois, the PI's report burning a hole in my passenger seat. My hands gripped the wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. Every mile felt like a countdown to a confrontation I wasn't sure I could handle. Ellie and Max were at home with Renee, probably eating dinner, laughing, oblivious. The thought of their little faces kept me from calling her right then and yelling until my voice gave out. I needed to see her face when I asked about Derek, about Lily, about the life she'd hidden. I needed to know how she could do this to us. It took 2 days to get back to Nashville. I didn't call Renee like I usually did. Couldn't. My phone sat silent, her usual goodnight text piling up unanswered. I kept replaying those texts the PI showed me, her calling me clueless, joking with Derek about my long hauls. Every word was a knife. I trusted her completely, built my life around her and the kids. Now, I was questioning every moment. Had she been lying when we planned the farm? When she kissed me goodbye before a trip? When she said she loved me? I pulled into our driveway late on a Thursday, the house glowing warm under the porch light. It looked so normal, like the home we'd built together. I sat in the truck for a good 20 minutes, staring at the front door, trying to figure out what to say. The PI had more details. Renee had been seeing Derek for at least 4 years. Lily was their daughter, born while I was on a month-long haul to California. Renee had told me she was visiting her sister in Memphis that week. Her sister. I'd believed her without a second thought. The PI even found bank records, my overtime checks deposited into an account I didn't know about, money siphoned off for trips to Kentucky, for toys and clothes for Lily. I grabbed the report, stuffed it in my jacket, and walked inside. Renee was in the kitchen, stirring a pot of spaghetti, humming softly. Ellie was coloring at the table, Max playing with a toy truck on the floor. "Daddy," they shouted, running to hug me. I held them tight, my throat burning. Renee turned, smiling like nothing was wrong. "Hey, you're early," she said, her voice light. "Dinner's almost ready." I nodded, barely able to look at her. "Kids, go wash up," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. They scampered off, and Renee raised an eyebrow. "You okay, Rob?" I waited until the kids were upstairs, then pulled out the photo Jake sent me. I slid it across the counter. "Who's this?" I asked, my voice low. Her face froze, just for a second, before she laughed. "Oh, that's just a friend from book club." "Why?" Her eyes darted to the side, and I knew. I pulled out the PI's report, dropping it next to the photo. "Don't lie to me, Renee. I know about Derek, about Lily, about Kentucky." Her smile vanished, and for the first time in 15 years, I saw fear in her eyes. She tried to play it off, saying it was a misunderstanding, but I wasn't having it. "For years, Renee, for years you've been living another life, using my money, laughing at me." My voice cracked, and I hated it. She went quiet, then sat down, hands folded like she was about to confess in church. "It wasn't supposed to happen," she said finally. "Derek was a mistake that grew. I didn't know how to stop it." "A mistake? A whole family was a mistake?" I wanted to yell, but the kids were upstairs. Instead, I asked the question eating me alive. "Do you love him?" She looked away, and that was answer enough. I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. I'd spent years driving through the night, missing birthdays, saving for our future, while she built a new one without me. "What about Ellie and Max?" I whispered. "What about us?" She started crying, saying she never meant to hurt anyone, but it sounded hollow. I couldn't stay in that kitchen another second. I grabbed my keys, told her we'd talk when the kids were asleep, and walked out to the porch. I needed air, needed to think. My kids were my priority now. How was I going to protect them from this mess? Sitting on the porch, the night air cool against my face, I tried to make sense of the wreckage. The house behind me, where Ellie and Max were probably brushing their teeth, felt like a stranger's now. Renee's confession kept echoing in my head, her mistake that grew, her tears that didn't feel real. For years, a whole other family. I kept picturing that little girl, Lily, who looked like Max in the photo, with big curious eyes. Did she know about us? Did she call Derek Daddy? My stomach twisted at the thought. I couldn't go back inside yet. The PI's report was still in my jacket, pages creased from how I'd gripped them. I pulled it out, reading by the porch light. Bank statements showed withdrawals I'd never questioned. $200 here, $500 there. All funneled to her life in Kentucky, hotel receipts, grocery bills, even a preschool payment for Lily. My overtime, my backaches, my missed bedtimes with Ellie and Max had paid for it all. I felt like such an idiot. I trusted Renee so completely. Never once. Checking our accounts because I thought we were a team. The worst part wasn't even the money, it was the texts. The PI had screenshots of her messages to Derek, calling me the trucker, like I was some side character in her life. One said, "He's gone till Friday, come over." Another, "Robert thinks I'm at yoga, LOL. Yoga. I believed her when she said she needed me time to de-stress. I'd even bought her those fancy leggings she wanted. How many lies had I swallowed? Every girl's trip, every late-night call where she sounded rushed. Had she been with him? I heard the screen door creak. Renee stepped out, arms crossed, eyes red. "We need to talk. Robert," she whispered, like she was afraid the neighbors would hear. I didn't look at her, just kept staring at the report. "Talk, then," I said, my voice flat. She sat on the porch swing, the one we'd picked out together at a flea market years ago. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she started. "Derek was just there when you were gone. I was lonely. The kids were little. I was overwhelmed. And he listened like I didn't try. I'd call every night, ask about her day, her feelings. I'd send flowers when I could afford it, write notes for her to find when I was home. But I bit my tongue. Ellie and Max might hear us. So you started a whole other family? I asked, barely keeping my voice steady. She flinched. It wasn't planned. It just happened. I love the kids. Robert, I love you, too, in my way. In her way, those words burned. Love wasn't supposed to have conditions, not after 15 years. I asked about Lily. Renee's face softened, and that hurt worse than anything. She's 3, she said. She's sweet, like Max. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I laughed, bitter. You didn't want to hurt anyone? You mocked me to him. You used our money, our kid's future, for your secret life. She started crying again, but I wasn't buying it. What do you want now? I asked. You want to stay? Keep lying? Or go to him? She didn't answer, just stared at the ground. That silence told me everything. Inside, I heard Ellie's laugh from upstairs, probably teasing Max about something. My heart ached. They didn't deserve this. I stood, brushing off my jeans. I'm taking the kids to my brother's tomorrow, I said. We're done, Renee. I can't live with someone I don't trust. She grabbed my arm, pleading, don't take them. Robert, we can fix this. Fix it? The farm we dreamed of, the life we'd built, it was ashes now. I pulled away, went inside, and checked on the kids. They were in pajamas, Max clutching his dinosaur, Ellie reading a book. I kissed their foreheads, promising myself I'd protect them, no matter what. Back on the porch, I sat alone, staring at the stars. Divorce was coming. I knew that. But how do you explain to your kids that their mom betrayed them? How do you rebuild when your whole world's a lie? I didn't have answers, but I had to start somewhere. The next morning, I woke up on the couch, my neck stiff. The PI's report still crumpled in my jacket pocket. Ellie and Max were already up, their voices drifting from the kitchen, Max giggling, Ellie bossing him about breakfast. I lay there, listening, dreading the day ahead. Renee's footsteps creaked upstairs, and I braced myself. I told her we were done, but I knew she wouldn't let me take the kids to my brother's without a fight. I didn't want to scare Ellie or Max, so I had to keep things calm, at least for now. I got up, splashed water on my face, and headed to the kitchen. Ellie was pouring cereal, milk sloshing everywhere, while Max built a tower with a spoon. Morning, Dad. Ellie grinned, her front tooth missing. I forced a smile, ruffling Max's hair. Morning, champs. Renee came down, her eyes puffy, avoiding my gaze. She poured coffee, acting normal, like we hadn't just blown up our marriage. Kids, finish up, she said softly. You've got school. I nodded, playing along. We'd talk after they left. Once the school bus pulled away, I turned to Renee, who was scrubbing dishes like her life depended on it. I meant what I said. I started, I'm taking the kids to Tom's place tonight. Tom, my older brother, lived an hour away, a quiet guy with a spare room and no kids of his own. He'd always been my rock, and I knew he'd have my back. Renee dropped a plate in the sink, the clatter loud in the silence. You can't just take them, Robert, she said. Her voice sharp. I'm their mother. I clenched my jaw. A mother who lied to them for years, who used their college fund for another kid. She flinched, but didn't deny it. We argued, low and tense, so the neighbors wouldn't hear. She kept saying we could work it out, that she'd end things with Derek, that she'd be better. I don't want to lose you guys, she said, tears streaming. But I couldn't unsee those texts, couldn't unknow about Lily. About the life she'd chosen over us. You already lost us, I said, my voice breaking. You chose him. You chose her. She shook her head, insisting it wasn't like that. But her excuses felt like static. I grabbed my duffel, packed some clothes, and left her standing in the kitchen. At the school pickup, Ellie and Max climbed into the truck, chattering about their day. I told them we were visiting Uncle Tom for a fun weekend, keeping my tone light. Ellie, sharp as she is, squinted at me. Is Mom coming? She asked. I swallowed hard. Not this time, kiddo. Just us. Max didn't notice, too busy making his T-Rex toy chomp the seatbelt. Driving to Tom's, I kept glancing at them in the rearview, my chest tight. How long could I shield them from this? Tom met us at his place, a small house with a big oak out front. He hugged the kids, then pulled me aside while they ran to the backyard. You okay? He asked, handing me a beer. I shook my head, told him everything, the photo, the PI, Renee's confession. Tom's face hardened. She's got some guts, lying like that, he said. What's your next step? I nodded. Divorce, and I want custody. I can't let her keep playing games with Ellie and Max. He nodded, promising to help however he could. That night, I sat with the kids in Tom's guest room, then bunked together on an air mattress. Ellie read Max's story, her voice soft. I watched them, my throat burning. They were so trusting, so innocent. I thought about Renee's other daughter, Lily, who was just a kid too, caught in this mess. I didn't ask for this, but I couldn't shake the anger. Renee had built that life knowing it had hurt us. I stepped outside, the quiet of Tom's yard steadying me. Divorce was just the start. I'd need a lawyer, a plan to keep the kids safe. But right now, I needed to be a dad, strong for Ellie and Max. Even when my heart was in pieces, tomorrow, I'd ask Tom about attorneys in Nashville. For tonight, I just prayed my kids would have to feel this pain yet. The next morning at Tom's, I woke to the smell of bacon and the sound of Max's giggles. He was in the kitchen, helping Tom flip pancakes, batter smeared on his cheek. Ellie sat at the table, sketching horses in her notebook. Her brow furrowed like she was puzzling something out. I watched them from the doorway, my chest heavy. They seemed okay. But kids pick up on things. Ellie's quiet focus, Max's extra loud laugh. They knew something was off, even if I'd sold the fun weekend story. Tom caught my eye. Nodding toward the porch, we stepped outside, coffee mugs in hand. While the kids ate, "You talked to a lawyer yet?" he asked. Leaning against the railing, I shook my head. Not yet. I don't even know where to start. Tom pulled out his phone, scrolling. Got a buddy in Nashville. Does family law. I'll text him. You need someone good. Renee's not gonna make this easy. I nodded, grateful but overwhelmed. Divorce wasn't just a word now. It was court dates, custody battles, splitting a life I thought was forever. Back inside, I sat with the kids, trying to keep things light. Max showed me his pancake dinosaur, and Ellie asked if we could ride Tom's old bike later. Sure thing, I said, forcing a grin. But Ellie's eyes lingered on me. Dad, why's Mom not here? She asked. Voice small, my heart sank. I'd hoped to dodge this a bit longer. Mom and I are figuring some stuff out, I said carefully. But we both love you guys, okay? She nodded, unconvinced, and went back to her sketch. Max, oblivious, chomped his pancake. I hated lying, even by omission. But how do you tell a 10-year-old her mom has another family? That afternoon, Tom's lawyer friend, Mike, called. I stepped into the yard for privacy, the kids playing nearby. Mike was straight up. Custody fights are messy, especially with Renee's double life. You've got the PI's report, he said. That's strong evidence of her deception, but courts prioritize kids staying with their mom unless you can prove she's unfit. Unfit, the word stuck with me. Renee had lied, stolen, betrayed us, but she was good with Ellie and Max. They loved her. Could I really take them away from her? Start documenting everything, Mike added, her trips, the money, any impact on the kids, and get a place of your own soon. Stability matters. I hung up, my head spinning. A place of my own? I'd been so focused on getting the kids out, I hadn't thought past Tom's spare room. My trucking job paid decent, but Nashville's not cheap, and our savings were gutted. I'd need to pick up extra hauls, maybe sell the truck I'd been fixing up in the garage. The farm dream was dead, but I still had to provide for Ellie and Max. I glanced at them, Max chasing Ellie with a stick, her laughing as she dodged. They deserved a home, not a war zone. That evening, Renee texted, "We need to talk about the kids. Don't do this, Robert." I stared at the message, anger flaring. Don't do this? She'd built a secret family, mocked me, used our money, and now she was playing victim? I didn't reply. Instead, I called my boss, asking for more routes. He promised a long haul to Texas next week, good pay. But I'd be gone 5 days. I hated leaving the kids, but I needed the cash to fight for them. Later, I tucked Ellie and Max into the air mattress. Max clutching his T-Rex, Ellie whispered, "Are we staying here forever?" I brushed her hair back. "Just for now, kiddo, we'll figure it out." After they fell asleep, I sat on the porch, staring at the dark. I kept seeing Renee's face when I confronted her, defensive, then teary, but never truly sorry. I wondered about Derek, if he knew about me, about Ellie and Max. Did he care that he'd helped tear us apart? And Lily, she was just a kid, like mine, caught in Renee's lies. I didn't hate her, but every thought of her stung, a reminder of what Renee chose over us. Tom joined me, handing me another coffee. You'll get through this, he said. I wanted to believe him, but the road ahead looked long. Lawyers, courts, explaining to the kids. All I knew was I'd fight for Ellie and Max, no matter what it took. The week at Tom's place blurred by. A mix of normalcy and dread. Ellie and Max settled into a routine. Breakfast with Tom, school drop-offs, evenings playing in his backyard. I tried to keep their world steady, but every night, lying on the couch, I'd replay Renee's betrayal, her text to Derek, her secret daughter, the money she'd siphoned. It haunted me. I hadn't responded to her last message, the one begging to talk about the kids. I wasn't ready, but I knew I couldn't avoid her forever. I met Mike, the lawyer, in Nashville on Monday. His office was small, cluttered with legal books and coffee mugs. I handed over the PI's report, every page a punch to the gut. Mike skimmed it, nodding. This is solid, he said. Her double life. The financial deception, it strengthens your case for custody, but courts lean toward shared custody unless she's a clear danger to the kids. I shifted in my chair. Uneasy. She's not a danger, I admitted. She's good with them. But how can I trust her after this? Mike sighed. Trust doesn't matter to judges. Stability does. You need a job, a home, proof you're the better parent. That hit hard. My job kept me on the road, sometimes weeks at a time. Renee was home every day, packing lunches, helping with homework. On paper, she looked like the stable one, even if she'd lied for years. What do I do? I asked. Mike leaned forward. Show you're present. Cut back on halls if you can. Get a place nearby. Document any neglect. Miss school events. Time she left them for her trips. I nodded, but it felt like climbing a mountain. I'd taken that Texas haul for the money, but it meant leaving the kids with Tom. Was I already failing them? Back at Tom's, I found Ellie sitting on the porch, her sketchbook closed. Dad, when are we going home? She asked, her voice sharp. Max was inside, watching cartoons, but Ellie wasn't letting this go. I sat beside her, choosing my words carefully. Things with Mom and me are complicated right now, I said. We're staying here a bit longer. Her eyes narrowed. Did she do something bad? My stomach dropped. Kids see more than you think. We're just figuring out what's best for you and Max, I said, dodging. She didn't push, but her silence felt heavy. That night, I called my boss, asking for shorter routes. He wasn't thrilled. Long hauls pay better, and he needed drivers. But he offered a few regional runs, less money, but I'd be home more. I also started looking for apartments in Nashville, somewhere close to the kids' school. Everything was expensive, and with our savings gutted, I felt the walls closing in. I sold my old pickup, the one I'd been restoring for Max to drive someday. It hurt, but the cash gave me a start. Renee called while I was browsing rentals. I almost didn't answer, but I needed to know her next move. Robert, we have to talk, she said, her voice shaky. I'm sorry, okay? I ended it with Derek. I want to fix this. I laughed, cold. Fix it? You had a whole other family. Renee, you mocked me while I was breaking my back for us. She started crying, saying she'd been lonely, that I was never around. Don't put this on me. I snapped. You chose to lie. She begged to see the kids, swore she'd be honest now. I didn't trust a word, but Ellie and Max missed her. I agreed to a supervised visit at Tom's, but only with me there. The visit was set for Saturday. I spent the days before prepping the kids, keeping it light. Mom's coming to hang out. I told them. Max cheered, but Ellie just nodded, her eyes distant. I hated how this was changing her, making her guarded. That night, I sat with Tom, mapping out my next steps. Save for a deposit, meet Mike again, keep records of Renee's lies. The fight for custody was just starting, and I was terrified of losing. But watching Max sleep, his dinosaur toy tucked under his arm, I knew I couldn't give up. They were my reason to keep going, even when every step felt like wading through mud. Saturday morning came too fast. I woke up at Tom's, the smell of coffee pulling me out of a restless sleep. Today was Renee's visit, the first time I'd see her since our fight in the kitchen. Ellie and Max were excited, oblivious to the tension. Max kept asking if Mom would bring cookies like she used to, while Ellie tidied the guest room, like she needed everything perfect. I watched them, my heart in knots. They loved her. and I didn't want to take that away, but I couldn't trust her near them without me there. Tom offered to stay, but I told him to take a break. He'd already done so much. I sat the kids down, keeping my voice steady. Mom's coming for a bit, I said. We're gonna have fun. Okay? Max nodded, clutching his T-Rex. Ellie just looked at me, her eyes searching. Is she staying? She asked. I forced a smile. Just visiting, kiddo. She didn't push, but I could tell she sensed the fracture in our family. Renee arrived at noon, pulling up in her old sedan. She looked tired, her hair in a messy bun. No trace of the carefree woman from that bar photo. The kids ran out, hugging her. She knelt, holding them tight, her eyes wet. I stood on the porch, arms crossed, feeling like an outsider in my own life. Hey, Robert, she said softly, standing. I nodded, keeping my distance. Let's go inside, I said, leading the way. We sat in Tom's living room, the kids showing Renee their drawings and toys. She laughed, praised Ellie's sketches, played along with Max's dinosaur stories. It looked so normal, like the past month never happened. But every time she smiled, I saw those texts. Her calling me clueless, joking with Derek while I was on the road. I kept quiet, watching, making sure she didn't say anything to upset the kids. At one point, Max climbed into her lap, asking why she hadn't called. Renee glanced at me, then mumbled, I've been busy, buddy. I clenched my fists, staying silent. After an hour, I sent the kids to the backyard to play. Renee and I needed to talk. We stood in the kitchen, the air thick. They miss you, I said, keeping my voice low. But I can't let you waltz back and like nothing happened. She nodded, tears spilling. I know I messed up. Robert, I ended it with Derek. I want to make this right. I shook my head. You had a kid with him. You used our money. You don't get to just say sorry. She reached for my hand, but I pulled back. I'm filing for divorce, I said, and I want full custody. Her face crumpled. You can't take them from me, she whispered. I'm their mom. I wanted to scream that she'd chosen another family, but I kept my cool. You can see them, supervised, until I know you're not lying again. She started sobbing, saying she'd change, that she loved Ellie and Max. I believed she loved them, but love didn't erase betrayal. Prove it, I said. Stay away from Derek. Be honest. Then we'll talk. The visit ended soon after. Renee hugged the kids goodbye, promising to see them soon. Ellie clung to her a bit longer, and it broke my heart. After she left, Max asked if Mom was mad at us. I knelt, hugging him. No way, buddy. She loves you. We're just figuring things out. Ellie stayed quiet, sketching furiously. I knew she was hurting, and I felt helpless. That night, I called Mike, the lawyer, updating him. He said Renee's emotional plea wouldn't sway a judge. Her actions would. Keep documenting, he said, and get that apartment soon. I'd found a small place near the kids' school, but the deposit was steep. I'd need another haul to cover it. I hated the thought of leaving again, but I had to provide. Later, I sat with Ellie, showing her a guitar chord on Tom's old acoustic. She smiled, a rare one. And it gave me hope. I was fighting for them, for a new start. Even if it meant tearing down everything I'd known, the custody battle loomed, and I was scared, but I'd do whatever it took to keep my kids safe. The days after Renee's visit were a grind. I took the Texas haul, 5 days on the road, the longest I'd been away since moving to Tom's. Every mile felt wrong, like I was abandoning Ellie and Max. But the paycheck meant I could sign the lease on that apartment near their school. Tom sent me photos of the kids, Max with a new dinosaur book, Ellie riding his old bike. They were okay, but I knew they missed home, missed normal. I called every night, same as always. But Ellie's answers were short. And Max kept asking when I'd be back. It killed me. When I got to Tom's, I found Ellie's sketchbook open on the coffee table. She'd drawn our old house, but the windows were dark, and a storm cloud hung over it. I stared at it, my throat tight. She was 10, too young to carry this weight, but she felt it all that night. I sat her down, guitar in hand. Want to learn a new chord? I asked. She nodded, her fingers clumsy but determined on the strings. Max watched, banging a toy drum. For a moment, it felt like we were okay, like I could rebuild something solid for them. I moved us into the apartment the next week. It was small, 2 bedrooms, a tiny kitchen, bare walls, but it was ours. I let the kids pick out new bedding, Max choosing dinosaurs, Ellie going for purple stars. I hung their drawings, trying to make it home. Renee texted, asking to see them again. I agreed, but only at a park. With me there, Mike, my lawyer, warned me to keep boundaries clear. She'll push for more access, he said. Stay firm until the custody hearing. I've been documenting everything, her girls' trips, the bank records, every lie. It felt cold, building a case against their mom, but I had to protect them. The park visit was tense. Renee brought cookies, Max's favorite, and he ran to her, laughing. Ellie hung back, holding my hand. Renee tried to act normal, asking about school, but Ellie's answers were flat. When Max wandered to the swings, Renee turned to me. I'm trying, Robert, she said, her voice low. I cut Derek off. I'm seeing a therapist. I wanted to believe her, but trust was gone. Good for you, I said, neutral. But this isn't about you. It's about them. She nodded, eyes down, and for a second, I saw the woman I married flawed, human. Then I remembered her text to Derek, and the moment passed. At the apartment, I started teaching Ellie guitar for real. She'd practice after homework, her small hands struggling but stubborn. Max would sing along, mostly shouting about dinosaurs. Those nights were my lifeline, proof we could build something new. But at night, alone, the fear crept in. What if the court gave Renee primary custody? She'd been there constant while I was on the road. Would a judge see me as the absent dad, even after her lies? I barely slept, my mind racing with worst-case scenarios. Mike called with an update. The custody hearing was set for next month. He'd filed for primary custody, citing Renee's deception and financial misconduct. It's a strong case, he said. But be ready, she's hired a lawyer. Of course she had. Renee wasn't giving up, and part of me didn't blame her. She loved the kids, even if she'd betrayed us. But love wasn't enough, not after what she'd done. I needed to be the one they could count on, the one who'd never lie. One night, Ellie woke up crying, a rare crack in her tough exterior. I held her, asking what was wrong. Is Mom leaving us for good? She whispered. I hugged her tight. No, sweetheart. She loves you. We're just figuring out a new way to be a family. It wasn't the whole truth, but it was what she needed. After she fell asleep, I sat by Max's bed, watching him clutch his T-Rex. I'd fight for them, no matter how long it took. The farm we dreamed of was gone, but I was building something else. A life where they felt safe, loved, whole. I didn't know if I'd ever trust again, but for Ellie and Max, I'd keep going, one step at a time.